Hi, I'm John. I'm an EAP provider working with Coralville Care. Just a little bit about my background. I was a social worker for approximately 40 years, having commenced many years ago in the early 80s working at the Wayside Chapel with Ted Noffs, the Reverend Bill Cruz, who still runs the Uniting Church mission in Ashfield in Sydney and does wonderful work for vulnerable and struggling people. Today's an opportunity to talk about EAP, a program that's very dear to my heart and something that I've been involved in over the course of my career. And I've been in situations where I've accessed employee assistance programs at times in my life when there'd been a lot happening and I was feeling that I needed support just to navigate situations and events that I'd found myself in. And I guess the notion of support is the underlying principle behind employee assistance programs, particularly given for anybody working in human services organisations, whether they be large human services organisations, which I've personally had experience in, Centrelink in a number of venues in New South Wales and around the country involved in disaster response work, responding to trauma. I was a member of an international flyaway team called the Family Support Team, and I was fortunate enough to go to Bali for the memorial in 2012. One thing that remains a constant when working in human services is the requirement to be mindful of the difficulty sometimes in managing circumstances and events, and particularly circumstances and events when you're dealing with traumatised, unwell, vulnerable people who sometimes may lack the coping mechanisms or the decision-making capacity to make good decisions. Often staff can get involved in situations where they're not able to render support or assistance to somebody by nature of the circumstances that they're involved in. And it's not unknown for staff sometimes to get to a point where they become somewhat vulnerable through the nature of their work, through the demands of their work, through the presentation of very vulnerable people. And that's where EAP pops in, because let's have a think about what EAP is and particularly what it's not. It's a measure of support provided to individuals who are engaged in working in human services with vulnerable people, with disadvantaged people, with people that have disabilities, which numerous, myriad can come up. And it's important, I guess, for people working in human services to know that they have a place where they can access support, primarily, which is a confidential space, which is a safe space, which is a non-judgmental space where they can reach out, quickly be put in contact with a qualified health professional who has got significant experience working with people who've been traumatised, who've been exposed to a traumatic event or incident, and as a result, are struggling themselves. My premise has always been that people don't come to work to get hurt. And as employers and as people supporting those who are providing the frontline service, I believe it's inherent upon us, and a responsibility that we have is to ensure that staff are cared for, that they're respected, and that we do everything in our power to help those staff and to help them manage particularly more difficult situations which they encounter by virtue of their work. EAP is free to staff. It's not a metrics-driven activity. It's not a reporting activity. It's not something which we use to look at KPIs. It's essentially an offer of a time for the staff member to debrief, to reflect, to be able to access support without having a sense that there's going to be reporting about how they are doing. And indeed, the focus of EAP is to enhance people's functioning, to enhance people's capacity, and to respond to them very quickly if they have encountered serious difficulty, have been involved in an event, whether that's within their work environment, during the course of their work activities, or outside of it. And I can assure you that even the very best of us, people that appear to cope well, people that appear to manage life optimally, it's only a matter of a couple of dominoes falling down in anyone's life, and very quickly we can become needy, we can become vulnerable, and that's where it's important to be able to step in with timely, targeted support, which is not designed to fix, it's not designed to take away, it is not designed to make everything better. What's it designed to do is to provide short-term support to somebody that might be instrumental in your business to take stock, to put in a plan, and to receive appropriate support while they're adjusting to the impact of a trauma, a loss, a grief, or some other event that's impacted them, their family, their loved ones. Thank you.